Today we are going to discuss glandular epithelium. Actually, we are continue with epithelial tissue. So, glandular epithelium, yeah, generally you may call at body glands. So, we really start this lecture. I really want to know what is your concept about glands. What is a gland? Anyone, please? One by one. Which produce hormone? Number 1 point. Yes. Which produce secretions. Anything else? What is a gland? Special cells that produce secretion. How many types of a gland your body have? Little bit things about a living multicellular organism. How type of glands we have? Which one? 3 types or 2? Which one? Okay. Name some glands. Pituitary gland. Parathyroid gland, thymus, adrenal gland. Yes, please. You know what? Listen again carefully. You do not have the proper concept of gland, and what you mostly know about endocrine glands. You mostly know about endocrine glands. Why we are studying gland? What is a glandular epithelium? You know this. I think this term is somehow new for you people. Body glands is okay, all gland of body. But glandular epithelium, maybe you feel, oh, what is this? Try to understand number. Let's first define what is gland. Glands actually are epithelial cells which are specialized to primarily involved in secretion. Specialized epithelial cell primarily involved in secretions. Epithelial cells which have ability to secrete something. There are different kind of secretions. Okay, secretion can be enzyme, secretion can be a hormone, secretion can be any molecule or substance. We will discuss later on what are secretions. But point is that why we are using word glandular epithelium, because there are the epithelial cells which are specialized, which are designed, which are primarily involved in the secretions. So, what is actually a gland? Normally what we know that gland actually a glandular portion, a area, a cell, a group of cell which secrete some secretion, and they are connected with duct. They have duct systems. They have duct system. You know what really happened? Number one thing everybody know very well is that we have 2 classes of gland. What is exocrine gland and other is endocrine gland. Both type of glands, exocrine gland or endocrine gland, are in the region of epithelial. They both are in the region. They are what? They are epithelial. But there is one major difference between exocrine gland and endocrine gland. What is that? Number 1, the exocrine glands, they do what? They release their secretion on free surface, or into duct, which are connected actually with the gland. This endocrine gland actually, they do what? They secrete their secretion in extracellular space, and that secretion enter into nearby blood vessels or into blood stream. Listen again carefully. What really happens? The exocrine glands actually, they have ducts. Most of exocrine gland what have? They have ducts, and they secrete their secretion into ducts. But some gland maybe secrete their secretion directly onto the free surfaces. But in endocrine gland, they do not have ductless gland. what they do? That's why they secrete their secretion into the extracellular spaces, and that secretion enter into the bloodstream and reach to the target. But why this glandular epithelium or glands, we consider both under glandular epithelium? Listen again carefully, because both are origin have epithelial cells. Let's have a look how these glands actually develop. Look at the little on the development of the gland. What really happened? You know, during the development, the different epithelial cells joints together. Different epithelial cells joints together. Epithelial cells which are specialized. You know, two phase. Number one phase is proliferation. The increase in the number of cells. Increase in the, and second phase is cell differentiation. Cell differentiate. So first there is a group of cell which are proliferate or divide. Later they do what? They differentiate into the glandular epithelium. They differentiate into the glandular epithelium. So during the phase of development, what really happened? During the phase of development, some glands, you know, they do what? They develop itself a duct system also. They develop what? Duct system. But some glands, they detach from that duct system. They detach from this duct system, and separately maybe those glands which are detached from duct system, they have more blood vessel around them. They have more blood vessels around them. So if the gland develop duct system, this will become exocrine gland. If gland do not develop any duct, it will become, think in another way. You know, we have what? This is a surface epithelium. What is this? Surface epithelium in every gland. In surface epithelium beneath we have what? In organ, in tissue section, outermost layer or innermost layer is what? Epithelium. Beneath epithelium we have what? Connective tissue. We have what? This how actually organized tissues in any organ, in any structure. So what really happened? In some cases, if we have here a gland, okay, we have what? If this gland, this is a secretory portion of gland. If this gland is what? If this gland is the exocrine gland, the duct is continue up to the surface like this. Duct is continue up to the surface. So this is the exocrine gland. During development, this duct remain intact. During development, this duct remain intact. Both are epithelial. This part is known as actually secretory part, adenomere. So this part is the cell which are involved in secretion. But at the same time, if the cell, this group, they do not have any duct, they do not have, they are still what? They are still a glandular epithelium, a specialized epithelial cell which can produce secretions, but they do not have duct. What really happened? An early development they have, but later on when they have to differentiate into endocrine gland, the duct disappear. The duct disappear. So this gland, this structure will become what? Endocrine gland. This structure will become what? Endocrine gland. So the difference is that the secretion of this exocrine gland will be go into the duct. The secretion of endocrine gland will be go out into the extracellular spaces. Here we have definitely many blood vessels in connective tissue. This secretion will be enter into the bloodstream. That's clear? Yes. Point is that, listen again carefully. Both exocrine gland and endocrine glands actually are epithelial in nature. They are specialized epithelial cells, especially the parenchyma of the glands. The adenomere, the structure which produce the part of a gland which produce some secretion. The secretory cells are actually what? They are epithelial in nature. They are epithelial in nature. So we have two types. One is exocrine and other is endocrine. During development and early stage, cell proliferate, they divide and make the cluster of cells. Okay, develop the adenomere part. Then they also develop duct. In exocrine gland, duct remain. In in exocrine gland, duct remain. In endocrine duct, DHR and disappeared. That's clear. Up to here, everything is clear. Okay. What really happened? This exocrine and endocrine gland, they have some differentiation. Number one, exocrine gland mostly secrete their secretion into ducts, or they secrete their secretion into the free surface. Maybe there is a cell here like glandular epithelium. Okay, they are secreting their secretion on free surface. This is also exocrine gland. Okay. So endocrine gland, they secrete their secretion into the extracellular spaces. And endocrine glands mostly produce a special type of chemical which is known as hormone, which is actually a chemical messenger, which have some specific enter into blood and reach onto the specific target. But with compared to exocrine gland, they actually secrete mucus, they secrete serous. There are some watery secretions, some mucus viscous secretions, and most of their secretion they act locally. More of exocrine glands are involved with some systems, body of the glands. The gland actually an organ, and they are attached with the different body systems. Different body systems have different glands. For example, liver is a gland of digestive system. Pancreas is a accessory gland of digestive system. Bulbourethral gland is a gland of reproductive system. So every system have different kind of glands. But if the gland is endocrine gland, it is involved with the production of hormone. Okay, a chemical messenger. If the gland is exocrine gland, it may be involved in the production of any kind of enzyme, any kind of mucus, or any kind of a serious secretions. That's clear. So these are some difference between exocrine gland and endocrine gland. No, actually, there is a different whole discussion endocrine gland which is known as endocrinology. So, in this continuity of this lecture, we will give focus only to the exocrine gland. Okay, this endocrine gland we will discuss separately. That's clear up to here. So, when you look into the exocrine gland, actually, we want to classify. There is I believe, 3 ways you can classify exocrine gland. 3 to 4 ways. The number 1 and major classification is that we can say unicellular exocrine gland and multicellular exocrine gland. The first one is classification is that this is a general classification. Unicellular gland or multicellular gland. This story I want to clear here. What really happened? Unicellular gland or multicellular gland. Unicellular means a single cell can be a gland. If he is producing something, a single cell can be a gland if he is producing. The best example, the only example in other cell, unicellular gland is a goblet cell. Is a what? Goblet cell. What really happened in the epithelium of digestive system and in the epithelium of respiratory system? We have between epithelial cell, if these are the epithelial cells, okay, we have a wine-shaped glass cell. The cell which have shape like wine glass. A cell which have shape like wine glass. This is actually present between the epithelial cell. cell. So this cell is known as goblet cell. This cell is known as this single cell. They are producing mucus onto the free surface. Producing mucus onto the free surface. So this goblet cell is what? Unicellular gland. This goblet cell is what? Present in the epithelium of small intestine or large intestine. Present in the epithelium of respiratory system, upper respiratory system tract. That's clear. Number 2, multicellular glands are what? That's clear. Multicellular glands are what? They have a lobe, a alveolar, a denomere, a secretory portion, many cells togetherly producing secretions. Okay, many cells togetherly. They are also present in some epithelium in the digestive systems, in the gland in the stomach. They are multicellular glands. They are multicellular glands. They are secreting their secretion into the ducts, and also they are multicellular glands. They are many cells. This is nothing special. That's clear. So the next, 3 way you can classify exocrine gland or glandular epithelium. That 3 way are what? Number 1 is the according to the morphology. According to the morphology. Number 2, mode of secretion. Okay, mode of secretion. Number 3rd is nature of secretion. Nature of. Listen again carefully. How you all your body's exocrine gland are divided into 3 classes. The first way is what kind of morphology they have. The first point is that what kind of morphology they have. Number 2, mode of secretion. How they secrete their product. How they secrete their product. Number 3rd is nature of secretion. That secretory product, what they have secreted, what kind of thing is it? It is a mucus, it is a serous, it is a hormone, it is a chemical. What kind of chemical is it? So mode of secretion, how they secrete, and nature of secretion, what they secrete. What they secrete. So at the same time, things to need understand. At the same time, these 3 criteria can be applied on a single gland, because each gland have its morphology. A same gland have some secretion, okay, and the same gland have the mode of that secretion. That's clear. So all the exocrine gland can be divided into 3 ways. What these ways are? Morphology, mode of secretion, and nature of secretion. That's clear. Let's first look into the morphology. Although morphology is not much important, but it's better we first understand morphology, then we will understand mode of secretion and nature of secretion. So the general classification according to morphology, we have 2 major class. Number 1 is simple gland, okay, and number 2 is compound gland. Number 2 is compound gland. If the gland have what? If the gland have a single tubular system, or single tube, that will known as simple gland. For example, here, if this is the secretory portion of the gland is attached with this next is what? This next is what is the tube. This is what is a duct, sorry. This is what? Duct. So this will be known as what? This will be known as simple gland. This red area is what? This is adenomere or secretory portion, a cell which are producing secretions. Okay, the main part of the parenchyma of the cell, the parenchyma of the gland. So this is what? This is a duct. The secretion is going into the If the duct is unbranched, or if the duct is a single duct, if the duct is single duct, that kind of gland is known as what? Simple gland. Such kind of gland is known as. But if duct do what? Duct show many branches. Duct show many branches. So that kind of gland will be known as compound stub gland. This is known as like this, okay. So this green, whole green is what? This is a ductal system. These all are what? Ducts. But these ducts are what? They are branched. They are branched. Here, this duct is what? Unbranched or simple, okay. So in that case, you have what? The cell, the gland will be known as, the gland will be known as compound gland. Okay, that's clear. I can tell you one interesting story. This is what? This is a simple gland, secretory portion. The tube is simple, okay, a single. If the a duct, actually, better to say duct. So if the duct is branched, so this will be known as compound gland. This is alveolus, adenomere, you can call anything. This is a secretory part of the gland. So this is one of the major classification on the base of morphology. You know what? These gland can, this simple gland or compound gland can further divide into many classes. Actually in histology this further classification we study, but which is not important because under microscope it's very difficult to differentiate such deep classification, because in cross section we have section on different angle. Because if in some cases if this portion is branched or this portion is coiled, we call that gland simple coiled gland. Okay, if the shape is like tube, we call this gland is a simple tubular gland. That portion is like tube. If here is tube, for example, instead of this alveolus, if we have what? The shape of this secretory portion is what? Like tube, So we will call this is a compound tubular gland. We will call this as compound tubular glands. This will be called as simple tubular glands. That's clear. So there is two things, you know, in this classification. One is what? You are looking on the duct. If the duct is single, the gland is what? If the duct is branched, the gland is what? Then we look on the secretory portion. On the different shape of that secretory portion, you make further classification. But these classification come under compound gland and come under, but this is not a much important, okay. Two things you must have to remember. Which one? Simple and compound gland. That's clear. Now we will going to look on to the mode of secretion. That is important. The thing which you need to understand is that the next one is mode of secretion. This one is important. There is three ways in which cells secrete their products. Which cell? Glandular cells. Okay? Glandular epithelial cells. The first one is known as merocrine. First one is known as merocrine. Number two is known as apocrine. Number third is known as holocrine. These are the three names or three terms which are related to mode of secretion. How glands secrete their products. Okay. First look into the merocrine gland. Let's draw one cell to understand this. Okay. For this, let's suppose this is a one cell of gland, one glandular epithelium, a cell which have ability to produce some secretion. If this cell following the way of merocrine, following the pathway of mode of secretion, which one is merocrine, how will this produce their secretion? They will produce these secretory product are bounded by a very small light membrane. Okay. You know exocytosis? What is exocytosis? Yes? Exocytosis, you don't know? Listen again carefully. This merocrine gland is somehow exocytosis. This product come near to the cell membrane. Okay. This membrane, they attach with this, and this secretory granules actually come out from the cell. Okay, like this. They follow this way of secretion. So, some gland of the body, for the secretion of their product, that product could be a hormone, that product could be a mucus, that product could be a serous, that product could be a mixture of both serous and mucus secretions, but they use this way, which is known as merocrine. This is known as merocrine. This molecule is attached with the cell membrane and they just come out from the cell. Number 2 is what? Apocrine. What really happens in apocrine? This is a middle is a nucleus, you know. In apocrine, these granules actually come near to what? Near to the cell membrane, but they make first a bud of cell membrane like this, okay? And people believe that when this apocrine, you know, apo mean apical, this happen, they also pinch up of some cytoplasm of the cell. They also pinch up some cytoplasm of the cell. These molecules come out, okay, like this, but there are also some loss of cytoplasm of the cell. There is no loss of cytoplasm, just that secretory product released from the cell. Just that secretory product released from the merocrine. But here with secretion, there is also some sort of loss of cytoplasm. That's clear. Third, we have holocrine. You know what really happened in holocrine? I really like holocrine. You know, this is very devoted to the secretion. How? Holocrine is very devoted. Holocrine is like, you know, like a boyfriend who give his life for girlfriend. Only those boyfriend who give lives. How? Because holo mean whole. What really happen? Such kind of cell, such kind of mode cell, whole cell do program cell death. Whole cytoplasm, whole cell loss, these secretions come out. Whole cell lost and these secretions come out. The remaining cells here actually divide and fill the space of that cells. The new cell come from remaining cell. But when this cell is ready to secrete his product, he lost. Do program death. Do whole cell lost their cytoplasm and their life, and we have in the result what? We have secretions. There is 3 different conditions. Here we have only secretion, okay, cell. This is, you know, this is not a good boyfriend. He don't want to give anything. Very mean, okay. So here there nothing giving you. This is some sort is okay, time pass. Maybe give some cytoplasm. Maybe this is a real man, give his life. Okay? So there is a 3 different kind of cells. They produce secretion in the cell actually. The glandular epithelial cells of glands use different way to release their secretions. So people ask this question, this cell is a merocrine cell or this cell is an apocrine cell? This is some of the common questions. So the gland who are known as mucocrine gland, actually they do what? They do their secretion without loss of cytoplasm, which is known as apocrine. They do what? They lost a little cytoplasm with the secretory granules. The holocrine lost itself whole cytoplasm, lost the programmed cell death occur and secretions come out. That's clear? Okay. Now look on the how kind of girlfriend are they? I mean what kind of secretory products they are. Okay? The nature of these. The next thing we need to understand about the exocrine gland is what? You know, before we going to enter into the nature of secretion, let me give you some examples, because most of your body glands are mucocrine. Most of your body glands are exocrine glands are mucocrines. Okay, for apocrine, the best example for apocrine gland is the mammary glands. The best example for apocrine gland is the mammary glands. And for holocrine gland, I believe there is a gland in the skin which is called as a sebaceous gland, So these are the example of these type of the glands. Mucocrine, many body glands are what? Mucocrine, apocrine, gland of mammary glands, and holocrine, sebaceous gland of skin. Sebaceous gland of skin. That's clear? Okay. Next we will look into what? Nature of secretion. Nature of secretions. The number one is what? Serous secretion. Number two is one, mucus secretion. Number three is one, mixed. It's better use this word, mixed. Listen again carefully. These glandular epithelial cells, a cell which are specialized to produce some secretion, they can produce three different kind of secretions. Okay, one is serous. What is the serous? Actually, the serous secretion is the what? Watery secretion. This is what? Watery secretions. Or those cells which are actually involved in serous secretion, if you look at the morph on that cell, you will find what? They have a well-defined nucleus which is located centrally, and around there maybe a small droplets or granules you will find. These are what? These are actually a watery secretion which is known as serous secretion. This serous secretion is actually mostly consists of some enzymes. The next one is what? That is the mucus secretion. Mucus secretion actually a viscous secretion. This is what? Secretion. So if you look on the cell which is producing mucus, you will find the cell of that, the nucleus of that cell is actually like a disc and located on the base. And the remaining cytoplasm actually filled with what? Filled with many droplets, many granules. You know, the example of mucus is the goblet cell. Actually, these cells produce mucin. They produce mucin. This is a structure. This is a product which actually bind with water and form the layer is like a mucus and smooth viscous, which actually help in the lubrication. The GIT tract and the respiratory tract, the inner lining, the lumen. There is so many cells which produce this mucus, and the layer have an extra layer of mucus. The inner layer have a layer of mucus. This is actually produced by these mucus cells. So they actually produce what? Mucocin, actually a granule, mucocinogen. This granule or mucogen, they when come out with water, they convert into that granule which provide lubrication, which provide lubrication. The third, some cell of the body, they do what? They produce mixed secretions. They produce, one part of the gland is producing mucus, one part of the gland is produces serous secretions. Many body cells, many body glands are actually what? Mixed gland in the nature. So there is three different types. Number one is what? Serous one, produce watery secretion like enzymes, some chemical, some substance. Mucus, they are viscous secretion, producing what? Mucogen or mucogen. So this is the what? This is the product which release and bind with water and make lubrications. That's clear. They simply mucus. They secrete mucus. They secrete mucus, and finally mix. They both have serous and mucus. That's clear. So if they're looking at the example of these cells, the serous, the best example for this, the exocrine part of pancreas. The exocrine part of pancreas is, I think, the best example for serous. And for mucus is better you say goblet cell is the best example for mucus. Okay. For mixed, there are many cells, glands in the body, they are actually the mixed cell, have ability to produce both kind of the secretions. That's clear. Listen again carefully. We have two or three basic things to understanding. Number one, what is a gland? Glands are actually the specialized epithelial cells which are primarily involved in the secretion. This is the histological definition of the glands. Okay. Glands are majorly of two types, exocrine gland and endocrine glands. Now there is two or three major difference between exocrine gland and endocrine gland. Endocrine glands are those glands which produce hormone, and they are surrounded by blood vessels. They release their secretion into extracellular spaces, and that secretion enters into the bloodstream. At the same time, exocrine glands are what? They are mostly involved in the formation of some kind of enzymes or some other products which act locally, and they use ductal system to release their system. They have associated ducts. So this is a major difference between exocrine gland and gland. Can be a unicellular, gland can be a multicellular. Though we are giving focus to the exocrine gland. So exocrine gland can be divided as a simple gland and compound gland. Simple gland mean have a single duct. Compound gland mean have branches. Two other things which are important. What gland secretes and how they secretes. Gland secretes what? The secretion could be a serous secretion, a secretion could be a mucus secretion, a secretion could be a mixed. Okay. How they secrete? Merocrine, in the way they just secrete their secretory product. Apocrine, the way in which a small portion of cytoplasm lost with secretion. Holocrine, a secretion with which whole cell lost with secretion. That's clear. That's all about glandular epithelium. Do you have any question?